Hello, I hope you are all well. I am Abhijit with my co host Mohana, and this is episode 1 of our podcast, The Dinner Table Discussions. I'm so glad that we're doing this finally. It was a long time coming, and I'm glad we've had this push to finally start our podcasting journey. The format is simple. Mohana and I, we sit down at our dinner table and we bring you in on these conversations that we have regularly. We choose a topic that we love talking about. And now I bring my co host in. Mona, welcome. What do you have to say?
Abhijit, that caught me off guard. That hello was that was surprising. But okay, I think that's what we are going to do. I think that will be our hook. Hello. Yeah, probably. Let's see how this goes. So I'm very excited about this podcast. Normally, in general conversations that we have day to day, we have a lot of differences. We have differences of opinion, and we are all about talking about different issues, and we love to hear opinions of other people. So yeah, we are very excited for this podcast. Abhijit, you want to start by introducing the topic?
Yes. So for episode 1, I've chosen probably a very vanilla topic. Actually, not. It's we are going to be talking about the Reservation Hatao movement. Something that I saw online on Instagram. I don't know if it's there anything anywhere outside of Instagram, but I saw it on Instagram and seemed to have a lot of people with a lot of strong views supporting it, opposing it. So I thought we should have a conversation about it. What do you think about this?
Absolutely. I am someone who has really strong views on casteism, and I have really strong views on merit. And of course, I have strong views on reservation. I support it. I support it absolutely without exceptions. Not though all forms of reservations. I have my thoughts on EWS, even sometimes in some cases on the percentages of women's reservations, but caste based reservations, I think, need to exist and exist for a really long time from now. And I think this is ironically one of the topics we both absolutely agree on to the root. So yeah, those are my views. So Abhijit, before we get into it, would you be able to take us through kind of the history of dissent and the discourse around caste-based reservation, specifically? The could you take us back to the time when the constitution was adopted?
Oh yes, definitely. But do you think that this is a contemporary topic that can move beyond the online movement, or do you think that there's more to it than what meets the eye?
Okay, so before history, I would say that I don't agree that Abhijit, something is an internet movement and something is a regular movement. A movement is movement, a revolution is a revolution. And it earlier we used to be outside, we used to be in schools, we used to be in public spaces, and that's where we used to show our dissent. And now we are on social media, we are online, so that is how we show our dissent. And if you see, whenever we are showing dissent, our own prime minister is giving response to us also on that platform. He clearly said that he's been reading our comments. So yeah, I don't agree that it's a separate different movement if it's on internet and if it's outside. But yeah, I'll let you go on the history of dissent around reservation.
I think I I see some parallels between what you've just said and the history. Because to talk about the history of dissent or to talk about an anti-reservation movement and the history of anti-reservation movements, I think I need to first very briefly look at the history of reservations itself in India. So I think we agree upon the fact that reservations are one type of affirmative action, correct? Affirmative action is a social justice tool which people use to which states use, which organizations use in case of people who have been left behind due to actions of the society, due to discrimination that they've faced. And reservations happen to be one type of affirmative action. There can be various types of affirmative action. And I think culturally, historically, Duryodhana asking Karna to become the king of Anga was an early instance of affirmative action because Duryodhana saw a very talented warrior who was being referred to as a Suta's son or a charioteer's son, and therefore being denied the opportunity to compete against other royal family members, other princes of Hastinapura. So, by conferring titles upon a meritorious and otherwise meritorious candidate, Duryodhana dragged him away from his marginalization and brought him to the fore. Of course, there's a lot more history that I can go into. I don't want to. One of the first examples of affirmative action favoring a marginalized community member is probably Dr. Ambedkar, who was handpicked by the Maharaja of Baroda to and he was conferred up with a scholarship on the condition that he'd come back and work in Baroda's civil services. It's funny he had to quit that because of casteism that he faced from other lower ranking members of the Baroda civil services. Plenty of other examples. Maharaja of Kolhapur, I think, has also, I think that has provided preferential treatment to members of the marginalized community. But one of the formalized ways of providing reservations or affirmative action was seen in Madras state when the Justice Party, I believe, the precursor to the modern day Dravidian parties, provided reservations in universities. These were numerical quotas granted to certain specific castes. Why do I talk about this specific instance? Because an act of dissent arose from this order of the Madras presidency's government, and this happened before the independence or before the Constitution of India was adopted. It ultimately resulted in the judgment of the Supreme Court in Champagam Dorairajan's case, where the Supreme Court struck down or read down the order of the Madras government because it was not in alignment with the principles that were contained in the Constitution. We must remember that at that time, the original version of the Constitution, before the First Amendment, did not have reservation provisions under the fundamental rights under what is today Article 15, Article 16 of the Indian Constitution. There was a directive principle of state policy which could not be judicially enforced, which allowed the state to take actions to further the educational interests of backward classes, which exists even today. However, post Champagam Dorairajan, when the Supreme Court refused to uphold reservation in education because it could not locate it within the Constitution, the Supreme Court, the state, the central government in this case, amended the Constitution to allow for this kind of action to exist in the form of Article 15, Clause 4. Of course, reservations in jobs have existed since the Constitution came into force, and opposition to this has also existed, simply because, not because people felt that reservations were taking away from their rightful jobs or anything on those lines, simply because they felt that members of the marginalized community, Dalits, did not have any business being in government services. Dalits did not have any business being in schools. They deserved to only perform the so-called, so perceived low-level jobs that their caste demanded. So this is some history. Of course, it seems like ancient history at this point. More recently, we had the anti-Mandal agitation in 1990, which opposed the Mandal Commission's recommendations of granting reservations to the other backward communities, as they are now referred to as. Then, as recently as 2006, we have seen anti-reservation, again, an extension of the Mandal movement and the anti-Mandal agitations, because in 2006, the government implemented a law wherein it decided to apply OBC reservations to central institutions like IITs, IIMs, and AIMS. I found something very funny. I remember this. I was in school at that time, and I didn't understand what was going on. But I clearly remember that a lot of these people, students of great institutions like the IITs and AIMS of India, came out and started sweeping the streets as an act of protest to show that that is probably how they would end up if they didn't get or if reservations were applied. And now I realize that was such a terrible thing to do. Probably why the movement didn't succeed, because that is what they thought. People who don't get reservations, or people who get reservations, are people who otherwise only deserve to go and sweep, which honestly I think reflects a casteist mindset. And with that, I'd like to bring you in. What do you think about this movement, and what do you think about contemporary anti-reservation movements?
Okay, so I can only speak on what I have been following. I was not a fully, digital GV so far, until recently. So I am not aware of too many movements. But I will tell you, as long as I have been in school, I have been in college, the only discourse I have heard is anti-reservation. It's not that, we are sitting in a group and then some people are debating for it, some people are debating against it. Never. It has never happened until, at least I would say, I started working on my second and third job, working with people who are more towards social justice, academicians, political science. Till then, core areas, working in those areas. Till then, I have only and only heard people speak against reservation system. So in school, saying that, you will not get a seat because you don't have reservation, or I will not get a seat, or someone else will get a seat because they have reservation. Most importantly, it is that is the main problem. So I think this discussion has always been around, and this current moment is definitely because CJP's movement was successful, and they now feel that if they protest hard enough, if they protest quote unquote peacefully peacefully enough, then they will not be beaten by the cops, which we all know is not true. Anybody who dissents, they are automatically the enemy. But that is a conversation
That's a conversation
for
for another
another
day.
day that we have to have for sure.
And police brutality.
And police brutality. Oh my God, we need to talk about that. So they feel that they can protest their way or have a large enough movement and make this happen. So, but also one very important thing is that when there are so many issues, social issues that India has faced right from the independence to now, which such as like people don't get jobs and it gets even worse. Income gap gets worse. People don't get seats in government colleges, so they have to study private. Private is expensive. So who is the one to be blamed here? It's very we have been programmed in our heads to now believe that it's all going right, and if there is something going wrong, then we are the cause for that. So it's very easy to say that someone else has taken my seat rather than why is there no enough seats, why is there no enough universities to accommodate us all, why is it that people who are qualified and able to study in Ukraine and abroad are not qualifying our internal exams and getting seats. So these are all very important questions, but they only are around in comment sections. Predominant voices are not talking about this. They're all talking about reservation Hatao. So I think that's the kind of premise on how this is going to go. So do you think I have a question for you, and it's a very interesting question. So I've thought about it many times. Do you think just the fact that someone is opposing caste-based reservation means that they're casteist?
See, the easy answer is yes. And I think I'm not too far away from being right when I say that a lot of people who oppose, well, okay, no, I'm not too far away from being right when I say that opposing reservation is being casteist. And of course, we're exclusively talking about caste based reservations here. So there might be people who oppose reservations for EWS, and I don't think they're casteist in that case. But see, it's also very easy for me to say this. There might be some people who are not really aware about the nuances of reservations, right? And we know some genuinely non-casteist people who are opposed to reservations. In fact, I know a few beneficiaries of the reservation system who refuse to obtain reservation benefits for their children. But that's an individual choice. Reservations are a part of our fundamental rights. The courts, of course, have said that reservations are not a fundamental right themselves, but there's no doubt about the fact that they're part of the Part 3. And a lot of people who oppose reservations are casteist. I'm sure when you ask them, there are plenty of videos online. There's one video comes to my mind where a guy is opposed to reservation and he says, what about situations where people refuse to drink water from a Dalit's house? Have you ever faced something like this? He says, no, I've never faced that because I belong to a certain, I can take the name of the caste. I just don't want to. I don't want to get our podcast banned on the first day that we upload it. So he names one particular uppered caste. And yes, I use the term uppered instead of upper because I think they have elevated themselves and have acquired all the benefits of being in such an uppered position. So yes, an uppered caste, and he says that's why it's different. No one should have a problem drinking water from me. This is the same guy who didn't see any problem while saying this as to how this might be casteist. So yes, I do think a lot of people are very casteist. What do you think about this? Considering you asked me this question, and also let's take it further. Do you think that if this movement arises out of a casteist mindset, it is doomed to end in and like I don't know,
So
end as not even a footnote.
You want to know what will be the fate of this movement?
Yeah, yes.
So, I don't have an answer to that. First of all, I also don't know and I also doubt how much of a movement this will be a movement in the sense that would it be limited to people coming together and, collectively coming together, a lot of people on that platform that they get noticed, or are they going to come onto the street and protest? Like, are we going to see one more Jantar Mantar show there? Sorry to use the word show, but I couldn't find a better word for how entertaining also the protest was. So,
It was all fun and games till they decided
they decided that it was not fun and games.
Yeah, they decided to fire tear gas and pellet guns into
Yeah.
the eyes of.
Oh, we also have to, just taking a tangent, but the police has also made videos of the family members of the injured police, which is awful. I mean, but I don't understand that why would government
Individual
take this
police
initiative?
don't deserve.
Okay, I think we'll go into a,
Yes.
we'll talk about
No, but
that
just
later.
to finish that thought, I obviously violence is bad, right? But I find it difficult to sympathize with the police force because they are a brutal, oppressive, they are remnants of a brutal, oppressive colonial regime, and they absolutely enjoy the power till they start getting beat up themselves. So I'm sorry that they got beat up, but they will not have a lot of my sympathy.
Yeah. So let's say that this, I am first of all agreeing with you totally, but just to come back to the point. So let's say this protest comes on the ground and it goes on for quite some time and they get any other popular celebrity to hunger fast with them. So, keeping the clock going on it, I still don't think it is going to be a very successful protest. First of
Absolutely.
all, they should not trust that. First of all, there is a misconception that under BJP rule, it is possible for caste-based reservations to be removed, which is not true. BJP has never said or never claimed,
If
and in
my
fact,
yeah,
Amit Shah has, sorry, my bad. Amit Shah has expressly said that they are not going to touch caste-based reservations, and I don't think any political party will. And this is not something that can be given on the street.
yeah, I
It's
mean,
a constitutional amendment. So when it's a constitutional amendment, you just can't give it to someone on the street.
yes.
It has to happen through people electives, and it's a very long process for that to happen. So it is going to be a unsuccessful protest, and people who by chance think that okay, हम लोग तो society के अच्छे के लिए आए हैं, we have come for education, we have come for equality, so therefore this is national, and but still the media and the entire machinery would be saying that they're anti-national. So they will somehow also become the villains in that protest. So they don't have a good fate. It's not going to go well.
I mean, there's evidence now to suggest that a lot of people who go around calling everyone anti-national are actually part of this movement, Reservation Hatao. And see, let's look at the math. Under the BJP, close to 40, I think the BJP has been responsible for like 41% reservations. 27% OBC reservations were implemented by Prime Minister VP Singh's government, which received outside support from the Bharatiya Janata Party, which had like 85 MPs in parliament in 1990. And then after they came to power between 2014 and now, they implemented the EWS reservation, which was 10%, and persons with disabilities reservations, which is another 4%. So if my math is right, 41% reservations BJP was responsible for. 22.5% reservations were already always there since I think the 1950s, which was implemented by the Congress government. So why am I naming BJP and Congress? Because they might not form governments on their own, but they are the two largest parties in India, and between them, they pretty much have control over almost all state governments. I don't think there is a single state other than Punjab AAP, which is a non-aligned, non-India, non-UPA, India as it's called now. So yes, I am not sure there is any hope for this movement to succeed.
So on that question, just to follow up, because you are speaking about this, you have been hearing this. This is honestly, I feel like it's the first time it's happening, because every other time it was a given. But protests are now supposed to have be apolitical also, which I've never heard of, because it's that I only knew one type of protest, which is a political protest.
Absolutely.
But in the eyes of the people, do you think there is any possibility that if it comes onto the ground, that it will be able to maintain the apolitical position? Because no party has ever even in their manifestos mentioned anything like this.
No, I mean, even outside of the manifesto, I'm unaware of a single. I mean, maybe there is like a one-seat party with some seat in some municipality or village panchayat, or maybe some single-seat party. I can't think of anything. See, a lot of these single-seat parties are usually found in the southern side of the country. And where is there's like 80% or something reservation in Tamil Nadu. Do you really think there's a party in Tamil Nadu or in Kerala who are going to come out and say that they oppose reservations? And I can't think of, again, Christopher Joffrelot has written an entire book about this, about the rise of largely communities who now form part of the OBC, like for example, the Yadavs of Uttar Pradesh and Bihar, the Jats also in Uttar Pradesh, but also in Haryana, who form a part of the OBC communities. And it is there through their rise that the politics in the northern side of the country changed. I don't see any of these caste groups or communities coming out in favor of reservation Hatao. Yes, there are some castes like the Patels, the Patidars in Gujarat, and to some extent the Jats also, we may say, who asked for reservation or in exchange offered the government, and the Marathas in Maharashtra also, I must add, who in exchange said, don't give us reservation, but take away OBC reservations and reservations in general. So, but again, I don't know if there are too many parties. Jats are an exception, but I don't think there's one party that calls itself a Patidar party, or one party that says it's a Maratha party. The Patidar party, the Maratha party is basically BJP, or occasionally the Congress or the NCP in Maharashtra. So no, I don't think political support is ever going to. This might actually be a truly apolitical protest, because no politician will go anywhere near it unless the politician is like some upstart who decides that this is their entry into mainstream politics, and it still won't be mainstream, they'll be fringe.
Fair enough.
So do you see any merit in this? And also talking about merit, what do you think about this whole quote unquote merit?
So, Abhijit, that was a good play of words. I saw what you did there. So yeah, I see merit in your argument that it has the potential to be in a political protest, but it's everything. I have no faith on any political party. They can turn things around very well as per the narrative. So they will say something like, "Oh, we are not in favor of the protest. We are but in favor of the brutality which will happen, or favor of this person who is on hunger strike." So that's what I'm saying. I still think there is a possibility, but yeah, I see the merit in your argument. Now, speaking about merit, that word always angers me, Abhijit. I have hated that word. What is merit? I mean, people call me leftist when I say this, and as if it's a very bad word. But I feel whatever we have, anyone who has anything, is because someone who doesn't have that commodity. So all of us were supposed to have, okay, I don't know how to say this without going extremely close to the concept of communism, and people log off and they don't listen to our podcast anymore. So I will just say that there should be equitable distribution of wealth and resources, but that is not the case in our society. Someone has a lot because they have taken it away from someone. Okay, it's not physical snatching as in current date, but it dates back to someone oppressing someone. So, first of all, I don't think there is any pride in wealth. But okay, that's also another separate discussion. But I feel like with this inequality, when there is no way to say that we all start at the same place, there is no comparison. We cannot ever say that someone is meritorious and deserves to be here. For every person, including you and me, I strongly believe that there is another person or another 100 people could have done our job better than us and lived this life better than us if only they had the opportunities in life. So I always feel like everyone who has something should always remember that they have taken it away from someone else. So I do not believe in the concept of merit because there is no equality in world, and it's only one in thousands, Abhijit, that someone is able to break barriers such as caste and class. It's not easy. We see then almost, I feel like whenever that's broken, we almost every time hear about it. So we feel like, oh, it can happen. You can hard work your way into breaking these barriers and into getting meritorious.
Even then, I think, I mean, look at Dr. Ambedkar. Such an amazing intellectual, and yet we have reduced him into a Dalit icon,
Yeah,
father of
so
the
true.
Constitution. I mean, his works on sociology, economics, caste, political science. These are all things, I mean, if I had put all of this in writing, maybe I would have had my PhD and I wouldn't be having this conversation without a PhD. I've been doing this for a long time. But I think one of the saddest things is this whole merit thing. The most meritorious man, or Indian man of the 20th century at least, definitely, was reduced to being just a Dalit icon, which he's not. He's
Absolutely.
one of the greatest Indians to have lived. And anyone who opposes me is wrong, and I will fight them till they accept that they're wrong. But I'm sorry, I cut you off. I'll let you conclude and then.
No. I think you've already said what I wanted to say. So yeah, my concluding remarks on this are just I would check my mutuals with that page. Those are my concluding remarks, and that's what I feel about the movement. What about you?
Yes, I checked my mutuals. I started unfollowing some of the people who I mean, Mallu blood. We are a little. I'm not only Mallu blood. I'm from a certain part of Kerala that one of these national news channels in 2016 decided to call the Wild West of Kerala. I'm from Kannur. We have a lot of contributions to the history of this country. A.K. Gopalan was the state of Madras. A.K. Gopalan happens to be from Kannur. Kannur was part of Malabar district, which was then in the state of Madras. And plenty of chief ministers of Kerala and a lot of social justice ideas come from this place. But yes, having said that, The Tyranny of Merit by Michael Sandel is a wonderful, wonderful book. Talks about how merit comes in many shapes and forms, but as long as it benefits the dominant communities of the world, merit is what is this, I don't know, this amazing thing. But then we fail to see the tyranny of looking at everyone through the same lens, because after all, the Indian constitutional law acknowledges that it's only unequals who can be treated equally, and unequals must be treated unequally. So if I were to, I'm hoping that we have listeners, and if our listeners were to ask me how they can start their or where they can start reading, I would of course always suggest Dr. Ambedkar. I think his entire life's work is available for free online on the Ministry of Social Justice's website. I think we should go and read that entire 17-volume work. I will be reading it, but if there's one thing that I think they should start with, it should be Shudras, Untouchables, and the Annihilation of Caste. And if there's only one thing that they read, then it should be the Annihilation of Caste.
Annihilation of Caste. Absolutely. I completely agree with all your reading recommendations. I have been reading myself, as you know. So, yeah, I just wanted to also say that what will be the format of our podcast, what is our plans. So, because we do have opposing views on everything else except one literal thing which we have already covered. So, we are going to be debating, and every week, alternatively, we'll give each other a challenge. So, my challenge to you this week, and the debate topic is RSS ideology is unconstitutional.
I obviously disagree with that, and we'll hear more about that in our next episode.
Next episode, next.
I just want to conclude with one analogy. If I were to say how much of reservation we've covered today, I would like to compare it to a bottle of beer that is emptied into a glass very aggressively. The froth that forms on top is not even what we've covered today. The froth that trickles down from the glass when you pour aggressively is also probably not we've covered today. There's so much to unpack. Maybe we will do it, and I hope that this is a long lasting journey. But while I bid our listeners farewell, I intend to come back and counter you on the RSS's worldviews, because again, I'll tell you what I think about it, because I do think that I might not agree with them always, but there's a lot about their writings and thinkings that I find myself sometimes agreeing with. Definitely not unconstitutional.
That can be said about anything, including the worst things like Hitler. But okay, we'll not get into that.
Of course not. Definitely not. Definitely not. But thank you so much for giving us your time. Bye.